Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Johngy or Else podcast. I, of course, am who else but Tommy Else. And joining me, as always, from Skokie, Illinois, is the man on the beat from johngysbeat.com, Mr. Jonathan Aloysius Robleski.
Did you use Aloysius before?
I might have.
God, we're only on episode like 67 and you're already repeating?
I mean, how many middle names are there out there? I don't know.
Like a billion names. What do you mean, how many are there?
I know, but like one of them's got to be right. One of these days, I got.
Well, one of them is right. You just haven't gotten it yet.
All right. So how you been there, buddy? It's been a minute since we've done a show.
Been a little crazy. A lot of stuff going on. Work is crazy. My real work is crazy, and my fun work, like softball, is in a high gear. So there's I'm spending a lot of time at the ballpark, which is not a bad thing. How about you?
I'm well. I've been busy myself. Work has been, I've been sort of retooling the business a little bit, and it's been positive and it's been good, but it's been a lot of work and kept me going. So,
will there be new shirts?
No, the shirts are solid, man. You know,
I never got one. I wouldn't know.
If it ain't
I
broke,
see everybody
don't
else
fix
wearing
it.
them on Facebook, but does your partner get one? No.
You're not a client. All those people are clients of mine.
I offer to pay for it.
Well, okay. Give me money and I'll get you a shirt.
All right. We'll do it off there. I want one.
All right. Good. You should.
I support the cause. You support me all these years by wearing my silly shirt.
Yeah. No, you're right. You owe me. Well, with all that settled, today we have a guest on the show, Nick Liberatore. He is a musical artist. I got to see him perform live back in May. He played alongside the Boundless, who we had on our show, as well as Professor Kliq, my brother, who was also on the show. At one point, the three of them did an album EP collaboration, and it's called KBR. And he has a new album out of his own, and so I thought it was a perfect opportunity to finally get the third member of KBR on here and get to talk to him and find out about the new album and other stuff. So we got him. He's here, and let's get at it. Let's go talk to him. Thanks for that. You're such a great co-host, John. That's not even like oh, that sounds great, Tommy. Oh yeah, let's do it.
I didn't want to step on your
something
toes.
to chime in with here.
I
I'm
didn't
just
want
talking to the wall. Talking to the wall here.
Last time I did that, you went, "Oh, that ruined my introduction." I went, "I had this great introduction," and then you ruined it.
Anyway.
And you never mentioned his name is royb0t.
Well, that could have been what you said.
I just did.
All right. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our interview with Nick Liberatore, aka royb0t. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to welcome to the show Nick Liberatore, aka royb0t. royb0t, how you doing there, buddy?
Hey, doing very well. How about you guys?
Good. Welcome.
We're good. We appreciate you coming on the show. Like I was telling you before we got on the air, we've been wanting to have you on since you and the Boundless performed with Professor Kliq and a couple months ago, and it was a great show. It was an awesome night, and I hadn't gone out for something like that in a long time, because I used to go to all the Professor Kliq shows and stuff, the elbow room residencies and all that stuff and everything. So it was fun to go out and do that again and see so many of the people who used to come out for all that and everything. Like, it was a really cool turnout and a great show and everything. So I'm glad that we could complete the triad here and finally get you on the show. So,
awesome.
you have a new album out, and I want to get to that, but I wanted to talk about a couple other things before we get there. Kind of walk us through a little bit about how you got started in what describe to us what your style of music is and how you found your way to it.
Sure, yeah. royb0t is kind of my main solo project. I feel like I would kind of categorize it as industrial, IDM, and breaks. I feel like I give myself a lot of license to go all over the place with the project. Um, I think the first release as royb0t was 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit more. Attack Earth, which was more kind of drum and bass oriented.
Yeah.
And kind of building up from there. I do have another solo project called Noise Bear, which for some reason just ends up being like my most absurd, fastest stuff. So it's kind of in the breakcore territory, like 190, 200 BPM and
BPM, yeah.
faster, yeah, and ridiculous. And yeah, I feel like, I started with the world of royb0t and music production late in high school, early in college. I think it really started from a friend giving me a cracked copy of Fruity Loops and SoundForge, and then building my way up after a few years to buying Fruity Loops, buying all my stuff, and just continuing to go and grow from there. Learning about sampling, learning about plugins and tools that are outside of the program, and kind of taking it from there. And yeah, I feel like, it wasn't until I actually met Nick Jones, aka the Boundless, and kind of collaborated and worked on music, that I feel like we kind of kept leveling up together.
Yeah.
So I feel like without, the world of the Jones brothers, of the Boundless and Nevada Hardware, I probably would just be doing royb0t as like fun sketches of things, or maybe like little bits and pieces here and there. But yeah, that's kind of.
How did you come to the name royb0t?
My question.
Good question. I think technically I started dabbling in, like, was in the late 90s in high school, was a nerd on a Nine Inch Nails chat room, and posting little demos and snippets. And then I was like, well, what title do I want? And I couldn't think of anything immediately. So I was like, well, I'll use royb0t. That can be kind of like an interim before I get really good at this.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I'm still using royb0t. Maybe I'm still getting good at it, but I think after so long, I was like, all right, I guess this is the name of the project.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And
go ahead.
oh, and then just the name actually comes from, gosh, when I was in elementary school, my friend in Maryland had just a messy bedroom, just all of the toys, GI Joes, different toys and things like that. And to spoil it for everyone, royb0t is a Garbage Pail Kid card. So
okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It was a card that
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up now to see it, because I was a huge. I mean, like, because I was in that age, like I was like 6, 7 when Garbage Pail Kids came out, and most parents would not let their kids have Garbage Pail Kids. It was a big like thing. They weren't allowed to have them at school and stuff like that and everything. Fortunately, my parents never cared. I had a big binder full of them to like people had for baseball cards. I had mine of all Garbage Pail Kids. So I'm a big GPK fan. So that's cool. I dig it.
So good. Yeah. It's definitely like a Transformers Macross robot type.
I've probably seen it, but yeah, I gotta now I'm gonna go look for it and find it.
And we'll post it for the viewers. Although if you're listening, you'll have to look yourself.
You'll have to come to the YouTube for that one.
Nice.
So yeah, because I've looked at your stuff on Spotify a ways back actually, and I really liked it. My only complaint was that it was I wanted more. I guess it was like the songs are a little like, they just like they come and you kind of get your point across and then you move on to the next one. And then it's just like, I mean, like I'm like, I need more. So I was excited, and like you said, it's been a long time too since you've put something out, and under royb0t at least. And so to find out you were having a new album coming out was pretty cool. Back during the pandemic, as I understand it, you and the Boundless and my brother Professor Kliq uh, decided to do a collaboration together. Now I've talked to both of them about it, but I want to kind of get your story on this as well. Just because I've listened to that a lot.
Awesome.
Perfect haircuts is like that's my favorite one.
Quintessential KBR.
Yeah, I
that's
just
the pinnacle.
I love it. But I mean, like I love all of it, and it's like I'm trying to, like, when I listen to it, I'm trying to think of like how this came together, who's doing what parts and stuff. And it's like I can kind of pick out my brother in some things just because I'm familiar enough with his sounds and his style and stuff like that. But I'd love to know like how Nick Jones had told us, you guys kind of just had like a floating file of the songs and stuff and just kind of did your own thing, adding and or whatever to it and stuff. But I wanted to get your perspective on the creation, the making of it, and all that.
Sure. Yeah. KBR actually is a project that we started talking about some variation of it probably 10 years prior. And kind of to take one more step back, I think it was a show at Reggie's that I saw Professor Kliq live in like 2009 that Nick Jones, myself, his brother Doug, and I think some other friends went out to see, and just blew our minds. Amazing stuff. Wound up catching up with him after he had performed. And as much as we had like, oh my God, you're Professor Kliq, you're awesome. He's like, whoa, you're royb0t.
Yeah, yeah, no, I believe, yeah. No,
So,
he's always spoke extremely highly of all of you,
awesome.
Nick and Doug.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show we started connecting. I think actually played All Control at that show, and I just was like, "Do you have remix stems of that? I want to remix it." So actually, I did a remix of that. Nick Jones, in one of his earlier monikers, Akasha Grenade, did a remix in like 2009, 2010. And I think as we were talking and connecting, I had this initial idea of kind of, there's three of us. What if we each write 2 minutes and then pass it to the next person and pass it around? So we'd have, I think six.
Yeah, roughly 6 minutes or so. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was interesting. It definitely, we had, I think, 2 tracks that were pretty compelling, really good. One of which people have heard kind of a future iteration of, but some of the other ones were like, all right, Professor Kliq's going to do what royb0t does. And then I'm like, oh, what do I add to this?
Yeah.
or vice versa. I think there was one where we went really wild and Professor Kliq just added like a snare drum to it and kept a really good groove going. So
Yeah.
it was a really cool kind of collaboration, but I think we were all kind of like, well, this isn't everything we'd want to release. Maybe we sync back up at a or hang out, do other things like that. And I know Professor Kliq, he's done remixes for stuff that Nick Jones has had. I've gone out to his shows up until he moved away from Chicago. Actually, that was 2016, kind of my first royb0t show after several years, and the very first Boundless show. And staying connected. I think the world of KBR kind of came together a little bit before. Nick Jones has just a vast catalog, always wanting and interesting to collaborate with people.
Yeah.
He had an older project called Do, which was, I think I gave it kind of the nickname description of like 2 people enter a studio, 1 song emerges. And he's got a really huge back catalog of that stuff. So I'm on a few of those releases, Professor Kliq is. And I think there was one track that Kliq reached out to Nick Jones. I can't remember. Hopefully mine is the most entertaining because I might be misremembering it. But I feel like it was something where Nick Jones just get a text message from Kliq being like, "I need werewolf samples" or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so they
Which
started
I
collaborating.
could see that. I could see that text coming through. Oh,
Yeah,
by the
and
way.
yeah. I could totally see Nick Jones also being like, "All right, let's do this."
Yeah, I've got got you covered. Yeah, you came to the right guy.
So
Real quick, you said
yeah,
you guys did remixes of All Control. Are those anywhere anyone can get it? Are they on Bandcamp or anything? Or I'd be interested to hear those because I have not heard the remixes of
yeah, I
All
think
Control.
way back when Professor Kliq posted it on SoundCloud.
All right, maybe I'll ask him. I'll ask him.
Yeah,
And another funny thing is my brother. We hung out the day after that show, and I was talking about you and Nick and the show and everything, and he was telling me, he was like, yeah, it's funny because he's like, we don't like, like I call him royb0t, and he calls me Kliq, and it's like we just use our stage names all the time and stuff. And it's funny because in pro wrestling, we all call each other by our wrestling names, and like there's literally people who like don't even know what your real name is, because everybody just calls you by your wrestling name and stuff. So I get it, but it's funny because as you're sitting here talking, you keep calling him
yeah,
Professor Kliq, so
yeah,
um
totally. Yeah, I feel like when I say Mike or Nick Jones, I'm like,
it's a
ah,
little
what am I talking
weird.
about?
Yeah. I hear you.
Definitely. I think Doug Nevada Hardware, I feel like I've only heard him call me Nick like once or twice.
Yeah.
Um, so with Nick Jones and I working together, both of us being Nicks, I feel like, half the time it's either royb0t and Boundless or the Nicks or Nick Squared or something.
Yeah.
So
No, he has also referred to you guys as the Knicks as well. So yeah.
totally. Yeah.
So I know because I had asked you a little about that before, and you said that project working with those two guys had some influence on you coming up with this new album. So let's talk about the new album and what it's called, where people can find it, what it's about, what it's like. Fill us in.
Yeah, definitely. New royb0t album is called Void Glide. It came out last week. I think, what was it, Friday the 28th?
Yes.
10 tracks off Think Break Records, which is our little record label with Boundless, Nevada Hardware, Digital Gnosis, a couple other, Anu, KBR, Coin
Yeah.
Hammer, and we'll keep going from there. Those are all just kind of different iterations of our own side projects. But yeah, my album, 10 tracks, and I really, I had some of them already in the works before KBR came out.
Mhm.
And I think that the title track, Void Glide, the second track was the first one that I had done of the 10. That came about in like February 2020. It was actually something I performed along uh, with one of my friends, Suture, who does live video game visuals, incredibly talented, awesome with the Glitch Artist Collective community, and we've done a few of those. And I really approached that track as like, I want to write something like Gazettelstein, which is like mid-tempo destroy techno, I think is what it's sometimes called, but it's just very ominous, powerful, kind of
Yeah.
sludgy, but kind of a slower tempo. And I initially was thinking I'd release like an EP that would be mid-tempo and another EP that would be like 135 BPM acid techno. So very much my nickname for it was like snares are illegal, where there'd be no snare drums, it'd just be bass kicks. When you hear
Yeah.
that type of techno, it just feels twice as fast. And then I got really stumped on like what I was doing. I was like, are these all just the same songs? And Doug and Nick, were like, they're both cool. Just put them together, release it as one album.
Yeah.
And we actually played a show, I think it was 2021, kind of after, vaccines were rolling out, as kind of there was a little
Things
bit
were
of an
starting to open up
air.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a show, and I played some of those tracks, and then continued to work on them. I think by uh, last November, we all kind of took the week off around Thanksgiving, nicknaming it Thanksgiving, to work on all of our projects. So I had several tracks in the works, but you know, during that week did the final track, Acid Witch, and I think I really revamped a lot of other tracks that, if you're to listen to the demos, were much darker and grittier. And really, my approach for this, after I kind of like agreed with Nick and Doug, I was like, all right, yeah, this is cool. This should be one album. I was like,
yeah.
You
And
know,
it's always hard with any type of art, but you know, music as well. You know, when you're making a song and trying to come up with, like, deciding I'm done, like the song is finished. You know, it's like, how do
yeah,
you know, it's like, is there anything else I could do? Is there anything else I should do? Should I do less? Should I leave it alone? Should I, you know, it's I
When do you know to stop tinkering?
yeah, I
right,
mean, like, yeah, you just, you know, it's a gut thing, and you just kind of feel like, all right, it's nothing more I can do to that, or, you know, so. But it's good to
definitely,
have people around to bounce that stuff off of, though, too, who get your style and what you're doing and what you're looking forward to. So,
definitely, yeah.
well, you were kind enough to send me a link ahead of time so that I could listen to it. I did check it out, and I would dig in it very much.
Awesome.
I do highly recommend people check it out. Where can people find it? I know it's on Bandcamp right now. So where on Bandcamp? How can they find this album?
Yeah, if you search royb0t or Think Break Records, right now it's on Bandcamp. I'll be posting it to streaming services, which will hopefully be up by the end of this week or so. So Spotify, iTunes, all of that good stuff, it should be out there. You know, I really approached it as my working title. I think I told you was, maybe I did, maybe I told someone else, was like, "Oops, all bangers." Was
Yeah.
kind of my plan, trying to write tracks that were immediate for people. That was a lot of fun. I think that's where I really pulled a bunch of
It,
inspiration from the KBR side. Was, instead of having dark, you know, I
yeah.
can do that. You probably hear it in KBR. If there's something huge and distorted and ominous,
That's
it
probably you.
probably was a
Yeah.
royb0t sound.
Yeah. No, I thought
um,
it was very accessible. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, like, I had no problem just, I put it on while I was playing some video games, and I just, like,
cool.
I listened to the whole thing, and was just like, yeah, this is awesome, man. This guy's rocking his ass off, you know. So
Awesome. Yeah, Perfect
um
Haircuts actually was one of the sources of inspiration as we were writing that album. Um, you know, I think Nick mentioned we were using Splice, this application to send projects back and forth,
right,
um,
yeah.
which is a pretty cool app. We really pushed it to its limits that it didn't work. That's why we named the last track Unsyncable, because the audio wouldn't sync.
Yeah.
um, but we were, you know, you could see updates as each person kind of pushed through changes.
Sure,
And
yeah.
we were working on whatever we called Perfect Haircuts before. I can't remember the working title. Maybe like Bangers Mash or something. Like, we wanted to write something that was, you know, a banger dance
Yeah.
track. And then we see this update like 10 minutes before our Zoom meeting with Mike, with Kliq, where it was like, you know, perfect haircuts every time. And, you know, these meetings would be like 2 hours on Zoom, you know, half of the time just chatting, catching up,
Mhm.
staying sane during the pandemic. And the other half was devising crazy ways to approach the three of us working on music. But for
Yeah.
that track, it was just like, you guys are going to lose it. This is great. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's George Clooney being interviewed. And that really inspired me to be like, you know, early on when I was doing royb0t, I was doing more weirdo kind of breakbeat, breakcore industrial stuff and just sampling everything. I think Attack Earth has like the Onion sampling, talking about robots taking over.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, you know, I need to go back into that. I think, you know, I always have little bits of sampling, but I feel like with Void Glide, I kind of returned to my roots. I was like, all right, let's just go crazy, sample
Cool.
everything from like Public Enemy to, you know, Serial Experiments Lane, in anime, to Doom, the video game. There's little
Yeah.
Easter eggs in there. Void Glide actually is a nerdy like speed runner thing for like clipping through a wall in Doom. So that's where I was like, all right, that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, it's funny because yeah, Doom is that's a game that has been sampled so much by so many different artists. I know even Smashing Pumpkins, they have
Oh,
there's a track on Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. It's called XYU, and they use the exploding barrel sound
oh, awesome.
on one of the on just one time in one part of the song. But yeah,
Oh,
that explosion, they use that one time. So
that's so
uh
cool.
but
Yeah,
well,
I've been a Doom fan for a while. I know Kliq is as well.
oh
But
yeah,
I feel like just
he's
before the
insane.
pan.
That guy could play that thing on Nightmare and beat the thing. And I'm like, I get through it if I can get through it on normal with my sanity, I can
Oh,
do it, but he's just
yeah,
nuts with that.
that's.
So
I wish I could be there. I definitely am more of the nerd watching YouTube videos of people playing it.
yeah.
But yeah, I think there's one of my tracks. There's like this big riser catch on the flip side, and instead of having like a crash symbol, it's the BFG like firing
Shooting
right
off, yeah.
there. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely be, once it hits streaming services, we'll share all the links to that and everything, and let people, get a chance to check it out and stuff. John, what do you got?
I do have one question. It's a general question.
yeah,
I asked the other two members of the trifecta, so I want to ask you. It's kind of a hot topic right now.
Oh
awesome.
yeah,
What are your thoughts on AI?
It's really bizarre and fascinating. I feel like um, Professor Kliq, when he played back in May,
yeah.
he's been leaning into that. He showed Nick and I during KVR sessions what he was doing with Mid Journey. We dabbled with a bit of it. But yeah, he made incredible music videos. I think his one song, the Vowel song, like
Yeah.
I was like, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta post that. That's so cool, Mike.
Yeah.
Like it's great. But I'm like struggling to keep up. I feel like, I come from, in addition to making music, I've been really in the glitch art scene and making visual art. So there's elements of AI that are absurd and bizarre and too many fingers and this is inhuman looking, which blends in with the glitch world. But I haven't spent enough time digging into it. I mean, there's definitely like I feel like there's a lot of power and tools that are in there that can, you know, make the creation process exponential. I will say, actually, in some of the later tracks in Void Glide, I found myself going to, I think it's lalal.ai, LALAL.ai, which is like an AI tool that strips audio and it becomes like a cappella and instrumental or
Oh,
drums, the bass.
Cool.
right on.
So some of my samples in Void Glide are cleaned up even further because of AI. So I'm like,
Yeah.
this would have taken me hours and days to try and, scoop out all of the right frequencies. So I did enjoy that. I feel like that was
Yeah.
something I feel like, okay, let's go AI. Whereas,
Sure.
Well, yeah,
some other thing where it's like deep fakes and,
mhm.
all of these things, I'm like, oh, let's dial those down.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, when Kliq was on, he was telling us basically what you were saying, that he was just kind of leaning into it. He's like, it's coming, it's here, it's not
Yeah,
going anywhere. He's like, you may as well start learning how to harness it and use it to your advantage. And,
Stay ahead of the
it's like,
curve.
right. I mean, it's like this
exactly.
isn't the first technological change to come along in art. It's like this stuff happens and has happened in various ways over, the course of history. And, it's like to fear it or run from it is he's like, you're just wasting your time because it's going to catch you eventually. So you may as well just
Exactly.
embrace it and start trying to make the most of it. So, and
Yeah.
yeah, and like yeah, and you're right. I mean, I've seen a lot of interesting. I mean, like when he put the video set together for his set, I
Yeah,
mean, I mean, for me, this is like a lot of it's my first exposure to this stuff. So, and I just was like, wow, I'm impressed, you know, with what you can do with it. And, you know, and, but the art that you guys do, the music is still organic and genuine from your own souls and your heart and everything. So, and that's what matters more than anything. So,
totally. I feel
you
like
know,
with AI, I mean, like there's ways to integrate it into your workflow. Is I think the optimism that I have for it is like, how can it make your process faster? Like in my day job, I look forward to like describing an Excel formula and it just happening instead of having to like search it out and
Oh,
figure it
that would be
out.
shoot
Yeah.
cool.
it. Like
Yeah.
that I'm 100% behind.
That
Yeah.
would be nice.
Right?
I'm all
But
for that.
yeah. I feel like, I, I feel like that's my hope is really to lean into it and, how can it make workflows faster? How can it make things sound better and save me time? But yeah, it's definitely something that it just feels exponential. It feels like every other week there's something that just seems so radical and advanced that I'm trying to just
It
keep up
it
on the news of all of it.
I think that's part of what's scaring a lot of people though, is it's just because it is just so fast. I mean, the exponential
Right?
gains in it are just like, it's, yeah, literally like week to week. It's like, well, now it can do this, and now it can do that, and now this is, you know, it's like all these things that like just even a few weeks ago weren't even possible, or
Right.
suddenly possible. You know, it's just
Exactly.
so, and it's like it's cool, but people are just like, they can only take so much at a time to digest, I guess. So, but
Exactly. But
um,
hopefully it's something that like you were saying, that it leads into the creative, that it helps
yeah,
with the
Yeah.
creative process. I feel like, you could look at it like, you know, Chat GPT, make me a royb0t track. If it came out with one, I'd be like, wow, I'm in their data set. That's cool. But it's gonna try and merge what it already knows. I feel like in the art world, in the creative, you're piecing together things that don't
yeah.
exist. You're forging, new frontiers and boundaries from there, which I think AI is going to give you. What do you think about these options?
Well, exactly. It
Sure.
can, you know, it doesn't mean that you're going to use what it comes up with, but it might inspire you to think of something that maybe you hadn't otherwise, you know, or wouldn't have otherwise. So, that's kind of where I stand on it from an artistic standpoint. It's like there's nothing wrong with throwing it into, you know, Chat GPT and saying like, play something that sounds like this or whatever, and then you hear it and you're like, well, okay, but I like that idea, you know, and then you take that off on your own and through your own creativity turn it into something that you can use. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel
well,
like I want to explore it more with audio. I feel
yeah,
like
for
that would
sure.
be the future after Void Glide. Like I feel like I've got a remix EP or album that I got to do afterward. But I feel like one thing that I'd want to dabble with is seeing what AI audio can do and smash it together in terrible, ridiculous ways.
Yeah.
Crazier dance music then.
You had mentioned earlier being on the Nine Inch Nails chat boards. I used to be as well. And my brother and I actually did, it's the only thing we've ever collaborated on, but we did a cover of Something I Can Never Have.
Oh,
Um,
beautiful.
so I'll
Oh,
send you the link to that to check that out, because he did all the music. I just did the vocals on it, but I mean he
cool.
really took it and like did some pretty neat stuff with it.
Oh,
I've always loved it,
yeah,
and I've always wished that he and I could do more stuff together too. But you know he's a bit,
next KBR.
yeah, you know how busy that guy is. So
Yeah,
well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you on. Congratulations on the new album. We're going to spread it around and let everyone know where they can get it, and hopefully get some ears on it. And do you have any plans for any live shows at all coming up, or are you going to try to get out and perform this anywhere?
I hope so. I know. I I think one of the thoughts is maybe a show in October. Actually, just started a dialogue with a friend who used to live in Chicago and is, moved out of state, and has been working on stuff. So I don't want to spoil it because we still have to look at venues and everything, but hopefully there's a show in line
Well,
sometime across October. And then just as a side note, I do live visuals for Nevada Hardware. So that's Nick's brother, Doug,
yeah.
which is awesome. Cyberpunk, breakbeat, great stuff. He's got a show in November, I think November 25th up in Madison. So I'll be up there changing the colors. That's
Yeah.
the easy part about doing visuals. So
Well, keep us posted if you end up doing that gig in October. Maybe
Definitely.
we can make it out there and we can cover it and
Cool. Yeah.
see you in person and hear the new stuff live, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep you all posted.
All right. Well, thanks
Perfect.
again for coming on, man.
Thank
It's
you,
been a
royb0t.
pleasure, and to finally, because I know we've met, but we really haven't had a chance to talk, and this was great. And
Yeah.
you're always welcome back anytime you got something else to share with us. All right, buddy.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you so much, both of you, for the opportunity. Very excited. So.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, dude. You're a good man,
Great to
and
meet you,
I
man.
know my brother's a very big fan of you, buddy. So
Awesome.
whatever that's worth for you. So.
Yes.
All right, man. You have a great
Wonderful.
time, man. I'll talk to you later. Thanks a
Take
lot.
care.
Thanks. You guys
All right.
too. Take care. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Nick Liberatore, everybody, aka royb0t.
And thus the trifecta is complete.
Yes, we have gotten all of KBR. For those who may not have picked up on it yet, KBR stands for Kliq, Boundless, and royb0t. You can find their collective or their collaboration that they did on streaming services, Spotify and iTunes and what have you.
And if you missed our previous interviews with Kliq and the Boundless, they're also on Spotify and on YouTube.
That's right. So, yeah, great dude. Like I said, I listened to the album. It's very accessible. It's very it's fun. It's high energy, and I don't know. It's my style.
I liked it. I finally had a chance to listen to it. I only listened to it once and kind of ran out of time, but I actually found it really cool.
Yeah, no, it's fun and
Upbeat,
colorful.
like
and, yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. That's right. Yeah, I feel like it's a fun type of thing to have on stuff. So, yeah, really cool. And again, I got to see him perform live back in May, and just great. And so I would be very interested to get to see him perform the new stuff live if that comes to fruition. I'm sure he'll do it at some
He'll
point.
be around somewhere.
Yeah. But thanks again to Nick for coming on, and for the Johngy or Else podcast. I, of course, have been who else but Tommy Else. And with me, as always, is the man on the beat from johngysbeat.com, Mr. John Robleski.